back to another gadget report. Let's talk gadgets. And today I'm talking about a budget airline that I flew with in my last holiday in Portugal, and in fact, in my previous holiday to Portugal, which is EasyJet. Is a very, very, very popular budget airline or low cost airline in Europe. And today I'm talking about my own experience and how was it flying with EasyJet. So come with me. Let's talk gadgets. So both in my previous holiday to Portugal 12 years ago and last July, I had the opportunity of flying with EasyJet from Lisbon to Funchal in Madeira. It is one of the main airlines flying to Madeira. There is plenty of flights from several destinations in Europe. And, a lot of people choose that airline because of the affordable pricing. And, it's just quick. It's basically a 1 hour flight. So it's nothing it's not going to be anything problematic. 1 hour, 1.5 hours flight. I'm not sure anymore. And and people just go and fly with them. So, what was my experience? What was the good things and the bad things? Obviously, last time, I apologize. I choked my own saliva. I'm sorry. So, obviously 12 years ago I went just with my husband, so we didn't have my daughter. At this time around we were flying with a 7-year-old child. So let's see how the flights went and the differences between situations. So my overall experience in both occasions, the trip was, you know, was good, nothing to report about. The aircraft was okay. Um, it was in fact what you expect from a budget airline. The crew was friendly. I don't think um, both 12 years ago and this time around, the two flights I did in each of the occasions um, were bad or anything like that. Uh, Last time, obviously, was just me and my husband. Um, we in both flights we got a seat together. This time around, things were rather different. So this time we were flying with my daughter. So you would expect, and according to aviation regulations, that a minor should always be next to a parent. They cannot travel alone, so much so that when you send your children flying alone when they are of age of doing that, usually there is a flight attendant responsible for them, and they do not sit any adult next to your child. That's child protection regulations. What happened this time around with EasyJet was that uh, we obviously could not book the seats. You have to pay, and I believe my husband tried and it wasn't available, something like that. And then when we arrived at the check-in, and we made sure that we arrived really early, so we had plenty of time, etc. Um, on the way to Madeira on this occasion, on the way to Madeira, so flight between Lisbon and Funchal, they managed to get a seat. My daughter seated next to my husband, and I sat in another seat, which was perfectly fine. I was okay with that. But on the way back, even though we ask for it, they do not grant us a seat, and they were seating my daughter alone with two other adults, total strangers. Obviously, we were not happy about that. We know about the regulations and we were not about that happy. Um, we informed the flight attendants, and the chief flight attendant asked another passenger to exchange seat, and then my daughter sat next to my husband. So I believe this was not ideal. This is not a very good situation, and it wouldn't be very nice for EasyJet. And then a little piece of information. Actually, that's one of the reasons I did and I'm doing this video, is to pass on a piece of information that I got from the chief flight attendant on that flight, that told me that apparently uh, the 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 flights, you can actually book your seats apparently for free, she said, um, when you purchase the tickets, and months in advance, which I did not know it was possible. And in fact, I informed it that my husband tried and it wasn't possible at all. So here is the information that I got from that flight attendant, obviously, and I did not verify it in any other shape or form. I'm passing it on exactly what I was told in that flight. I was not very happy. The flight attendants were very nice. The crew was nice. I just think it was a little dysfunctional and it was a little wrong, um, let alone against the regulations, that you see the 7-year-old next to perfect strangers. Yes, I was right there and my husband was right there, but still, it was quite a rather stressful situation for my daughter, because she was looking at the possibility of seeing um, someone sitting next to her and she would be apart from us. So this is just what happened to me. Uh, I decided to do this video to tell you about, if you're traveling with children, make sure that you know about all of these things before you travel. Make sure that when you book your flights, you know exactly what you're going to do, and try to book those seats as soon as possible, because sometimes they may be, which I honestly don't understand why, when you go to a check-in and they see a child, why the person there, uh, seeing the seats available, they cannot do what actually that flight attendant ended up achieving inside the aircraft. I'm pretty sure that person was traveling alone. For that person, going on that seat, which actually was a middle seat, going in that seat or going on the other seat on the other aisle, it would be exactly the same thing. And it would mean that from the start, the child would be seated next to my husband, and it would be a very easy situation to solve. Um, and it was making it easy. That's what I call customer service. And on this occasion, I don't think the ground staff in Madeira airport, so the EasyJet check-in staff, I don't think they were very helpful, or they provided very good customer service, because you know that when people are traveling with children, the regulations are rather different, and of course you have to mind the welfare of the children, the welfare of the child, and of course you don't put a child alone with strangers, because not only stressful for the child, but it's also not very good in terms of safety. So this was what happened. It was the only thing I have to say about EasyJet. As I said, I flew with them in my last trip to Portugal 12 years ago, and everything was fine. I was traveling alone with my husband. My daughter didn't exist back then, so there was no dramas, no major complications. And indeed, they gave us a seat next to each other. So what was the deal? That now it's so complicated to put a child next to their father. I think the complication was, in fact, I would say that the complication was that person doing the check-in, uh, that obviously for some reason didn't like to provide a very good service and wasn't very nice. So this was my experience. I decided to do this video to tell you about what happened, and in fact to alert you for this, to make sure you stand your ground, and you say, no, my child cannot go alone, she cannot go, or he cannot go sitting alone with strangers. That's not happening, because obviously you have rights and your child have rights. And sometimes people have to understand that if they are in certain jobs, those jobs require them to do certain things, and one of them is protect children. And I believe people that are on a check-in stand, on a check-in counter, doing that check-in for flights, they should know that, and they should know better. I think that was the situation. Actually, I don't blame the staff, the crew on board the aircraft at all, because they tried to solve, and indeed they solved the problem. But I actually think there was the person on the ground, the check-in attendant, that was not very nice and actually did not really do her job properly. But I would like to hear from you. Have you ever had a similar situation with EasyJet or any other low cost or otherwise airline? Let me know. So for today, I hope this was a good video to clarify a few things about flying with low-cost airlines, or any airline for that matter. I know the situation with seats these days and airlines, and that's a very sad aspect of flying these days, is that airlines, and some airlines, try to extract as much money as they can from you, and even with the seats they do that, which is really a little sad, because you're already paying for the fare, you're already paying for everything else, and that it should be something that you get because you have to have a seat allocated. And another thing that I didn't mention is that flight attendant said, and this was what she said, so it's hearsay, I cannot obviously verify this information, it was given to me by that chief flight attendant on that flight, that if you don't do that booking of seats as she said, if the flight is double booked, which for me is something that it's horrible and wrong, you might lose your flight. So you might not even have a flight in the first place, because if someone else chose the seats, you miss out. So this is the situation. So make sure you know about all these regulations, and next time you fly EasyJet, for example, make sure you verify all of this and you ask your questions, because I will certainly do, if I ever fly with them again, I will definitely be asking all these questions. I will ask about seats, I'll be asking about my daughter, I'll be asking all the difficult questions, because I think this is not providing a good service. This is just extracting as much money as they can from customers by not providing service at all. So this is what happened to me. Let me know your experience. As I said before, let me know, have you ever used or flown, sorry, with EasyJet? What's your experience? What was your flight? Was it also to Madeira? Was it to another destination? Because obviously they fly all over Europe. And what was your experience traveling with children? What is your experience with airlines, not only EasyJet, but other airlines? I know that obviously the other airlines don't, they usually like to go by the regulations, and they usually know what to do, because obviously they are very afraid of something going wrong and lawsuits and things like that. But I know sometimes the low cost airlines push themselves a little too far. I think this was a case of that. I didn't really want to make a fuss of it. I was on holidays. The problem was solved. The flight attendant solved the problem. But if that hadn't happened, I would definitely be doing something about it. So I decided to do this video because I really wanted you to know about my experience and what I was told, what happened. As I said, all of this was hearsay. I didn't keep her name, unfortunately, because honestly, I didn't have anything to write it down. And I didn't keep her name. But I don't think that's relevant. I just think that it is important that these things come out, and this was what I was told. So be careful when you book with certain airlines, because according to that lady, things like this may happen. So if you have anything that you would like me to talk about in our gadget reports, please leave me a comment below and suggest. I'll be very happy to accommodate that. And of course, put a like on the video and subscribe to the channel with a little click on the bell so you get a notification of a new gadget report every week. Before I go, I would like to thank you all for watching. See you next week. Thank you. Bye.